Hello and welcome to Module 12 in our C language series. Now that we've had a kind of an overview of the C standard library and we've looked at how the linking process works as well, we're going to delve a little deeper into the functions available in the C standard library, many of which we haven't seen before. And we're going to focus our attention in the next few sessions on string and character functions before moving on to mathematical and graphical functions. We know that string functions require the use of the header file string.h. We have used this header file before, but of course we'll be looking at more of the functions that are available through this header file. We know that a null terminated array of characters is what constitutes a string. In fact, every string in C is an array. We also know that C does not perform any bound checking on arrays. It's up to us as programmers to do this so as to safeguard our code from malicious attacks. Character functions require the use of ctype.h, and again we have used this header file, but we'll be looking at more of the functions that we can use from this header file. Remember, with characters, only the low order byte is used, and we've discussed this in detail, you may recall, in an earlier session. Arguments to character functions are integers, though of course we declare them or define them as characters in our code. Internally, they will be converted to integer types when these character functions are called. There are two types of characters, as printable characters and non-printable characters. Printable characters lie between a space, which has hex value 20, and the tilde, which has hex value 7e. And then we have non-printable characters lying between 0 or null and hex value 1f, as well as a delete key, which has hex value 7f. Now coming to the first function, the prototype, as you can see, returns an integer, taking as argument an integer again. Right? Returns a true if its argument is a letter or a digit, meaning if the argument or the character is alphanumeric. Right? Otherwise, returns false or 0. Write code to accept a password from the user. No spaces or special characters are allowed. So let's now go to code blocks and we'll start a new file. Header files, stdio.h, that's what we need. We also need stdbool.h, as we'll be using Boolean type variables. We'll also need definitely the ctype.h header file, as we're using a character function. And we need stdlib.h because we use the exit function. So now int main, and the variables we need are char ch and password, which is of 8 bytes. And we need int counter, and we need bool, we'll call that error flag. Now we'll have an infinite or eternal loop, as I like to call it, and within that loop we'll initialize error flag to true, counter equal to 0. So every time this loop executes, these two will be initialized, printf. Then we'll have another loop while counter less than 8, and here we'll have ch equal to get c, and we'll use a standard stream. We need to check, so here is where we'll use a function. If not isalnum, pass the argument ch, then we just set error flag equal to 0. Right, set it to false. Irrespective of the value of error flag, the value of ch will be put into password. So password of counter equal to ch, and then of course counter plus plus. Right? Now remember that when we come out of this loop, we need to force a null terminator into the string because C is not going to do it, right? So password of CTR equal to \0. And as I said earlier, if there is what is called a string which is not terminated with a null, you're leaving it open for somebody to put in malicious code, right? And therefore, we need to be careful with bound checking. If not error flag, what does this mean? It simply means if error flag is equal to 0 or false, then we'll printf error in length or type of characters used, right? \n. And we'll make sure to flush stdin, and then we can continue. Which loop will this continue? Remember, this is the end of the statement. This loop is basically our infinite or eternal loop, right? So this loop will continue as long as error flag is false. If error flag is true, or if it remains true, then we just printf. Now, of course, this is not the exact way you would, ask for a password, because you're going to be seeing the letters on screen. But this is just to test out how this particular function works, right? And we need to now exit this program. Now, as we're getting deeper into C, we need to make sure all our I's are dotted, as you would say, and T's are crossed. So exit 0. We've taken care of everything. Now let's run this. Of course, we could have errors, which we'll deal with. So enter a password. Let's try entering first the valid data. So I enter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 alphabets and numbers. And there's a problem. So what is the problem? Here we've said continue. But how do we exit this loop? Right? So else, what do we need to say? Break. Right? So let's run this now. Enter valid data. Password created successfully. Right? Now we need to try, or rather test, our error handling. So run this again. And let's enter invalid characters. So let's say I put in 3, 4, a number, and then I put in special characters, right? Error in length or type of characters used. Exactly. So that works. What if we enter an extra number of characters? If I enter, or rather a less number of characters, let's say I enter 7, error in length or type of characters used. What happens if I just go like that? Why is this happening? This is because the loop is going to exit anyway, and it's going to take those first 8 characters. Now, what if I enter less than 7? Let's say I enter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll see the cursor's waiting, right? So I will enter 7, 8. Now it will say error in length or type of characters used. Why? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But remember, I'd press an enter, and that 10 as well has gone into the password. 10, remember, is a line feed, and therefore it's giving me an error. That's how this program works. Now, can you change the code? Can you alter it so that, if a 10 is entered, for example, then the counter should move backward. Now I leave that to you to change. Moving on. Isalpha. Prototype, returning an integer, and again taking ch, which is integer type, returns true if ch, or the character, is a letter of the alphabet. Otherwise returns false. Change the code previously written to accept letters of the alphabet only. And so we can go back to the same code, and instead of using isalnum, we can use isalpha. Right? So now if we run this, and you can change this message. So now if I enter, let's see, numbers, right, gives me the error, right? Try only numbers, and again we get an error. Try just letters, and password created successfully. Right? Moving on. Iscntrl. Again returning an integer, taking as parameter the character, returns true or non-zero if ch is between 0 and 1f, or rather 1f or the delete, because those are the control characters. Otherwise returns 0. So write some code to report all control as well as non-control characters. We'll go back to code blocks and we start a new file. So here hashtag include stdio.h, and then hashtag include ctype.h, hashtag include stdlib.h. Okay, int main, and here we'll have char ch while 1, and within this loop printf ch equal to get c stdin, or we can use get, in which case we'll include on io.h. Now we'll use the function if iscntrl ch, then printf percentage d, we'll say, because remember control characters are not printable, else printf percentage d, we'll keep it as d. Right, so we'll just get the ASCII code. Now let's run this. So let's try a letter, say J, 106. Now of course there should be a \n there, so let's put in \n's in both of these. Right, or the screen looks really crowded. Right, so let's try that again. U is not a control character. 9 is not a control character. What about the tab? Is a control character. What about the enter? Is a control character. What about up arrow? Is not a control character. But you can see with up arrow, I get 2 values. Down arrow again gives me 2 values. What about delete? Is not a control character. Right? So you can see what about escape is a control character. Okay, so that's how this function works. This ends our session for today. In the next session, we'll continue to focus on string and character functions. Till then, take care, stay safe. Bye.